Okay, now, the factors in a fly rod, the three most important, what they are all about, is first of all, you would factor in the length of the fly rod. Now, fly rod lengths today are anywhere from around 7 feet to up to 11 feet. Now, keep in mind that those are the two extremes, and there's a reason for that. 7-foot fly rods, think of it this way: smaller rod, smaller stream, different kind of casting. Longer rods, bigger stream, different kind of casting. 8 and 9-foot rods would be in the middle, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. The second part is the weight. Now, not to be confused with the weight of the rod. It's not a designation of the weight of the rod. It is a designation of the weight of the line that you'll be casting on this rod. And the third aspect is action. Now, action, what it does for a rod is it determines where the rod, now some manufacturers and some people will call it bend, some will call it flex. I like to use the term load. So I'm going to call it load point, because what that means is in the rod, where the rod bends is where it's going to load, and that's what's going to generate the power to throw the line. Now, rod manufacturers use different terms, but for this class we're going to use the most common. That's going to be slow action, which the action, the bend or the load point is in the back of the rod. Medium action, where the bend and the action is in the center of the rod. And fast action, where the load and action is at the tip of the rod. Now, along with load, you have to also consider what is called dampening or recovery. In other words, the rod loads, and then it fires the line, and then it dampens or recovers. So it's really two different aspects. One is loading the rod, one is dampening or recovery of the rod. One way to tell, if you didn't know, one way to tell would be to set the rod tip on the ground and hold up the handle, and you can see where this rod bends, where the load point of this rod is. Now, why all this is important is because depending on what kind of fishing you do or what kind of fishing you'd like to do would depend a lot on what type of action you would have. So let's start again with slow action. Now, slow action means that it's going to take longer for the power to get down to this part of the rod. And so as you're raising the rod and it's loading, it has to come clear through the rod to the back end, finally picks up the line. Now that's more for smaller rods and for delicate dry fly casting. At the other end of the spectrum, where you pick up the rod and it flexes or loads here, that means that it's going to pick the line up really fast. Now, picking the line up really fast means your timing in your cast has to be right on the money, or you could lose it really fast. So, again, let's go to the center. So medium action is really, for what we're talking about today, the best action that there is in a rod. And by the way, it's far and away the most common. And that's going to be your medium action rod. Now, I happen to have a rod that's considered medium fast. Now, it's hard to tell the difference really between medium and medium fast, but the point of all that is in the action of the rod is it's important for you to understand that so that you'll know what kind of fishing it is that you like to do, what kind of fishing, it's the stream, it's the fish, all those things factor in to the action of the rod. In times past, most rods came as a two-piece rod, which would look like this in a case. Now this particular rod happens to be, I believe it is an 8-foot free weight, and it's a two-piece. Now today's rods are almost all 4-piece rods. Now the reason for that is because it's really about traveling and packing. This is a much easier case to put in your car, your truck. It's an easier rod to put on an airplane, and it's an easier rod to pack into the backcountry. That's really the reason for the diversion from this. Now, you can still get two-piece rods. If you look at the components of a fly rod, this would be the seat, this would be the handle, this would be the strip guide, this would be the line guides, and then you have your ferrules. Now, in a 4-piece rod, you have 3 ferrules. In a 2-piece rod, you have 2.